Okay, let's see, integer, decimal, date. Let's see. Okay, what I'll do actually is just create the JSON myself and host it on my own server actually. In case I wasn't able to find anything online in front of you guys, I thought that's what I will do. So the first thing that we actually need to do is we need to have some kind of database, right? When you are making network calls, you either need some kind of API or some kind of database in the backend and some way to like connect with that particular server. So the first thing that we need to do is add a few libraries. As I told you before, we didn't have Android doesn't have a native way of like rounding the image itself, right? Your images are rectangular by default. So what we did was added a library called Circle Image View because someone has already created this library which does that task for you of rounding the image. So you don't have to write the specialized code to do that all by yourself. So now we have to do the same thing. So in Android, there is a library called Retrofit, which is used to make these API calls. So just search for Retrofit, right? And then you will see the documentation for the library, which like you know, which you're supposed to use. So let's go ahead and see how to download this library. So you will see that they have given, like in Android, we use Gradle, right, to fetch libraries and like compile the project and everything else. So what you need to do is just look for this Gradle and follow the instructions that they give you. So here, just copy this. I'll actually go ahead and paste that in chat so that you don't have to. We also need to find the latest version, right? The thing is, these libraries, if I zoom in, you will see that it says insert latest version because you actually need to insert the version when you're working with Gradle. You can also do something like plus sign, right? Or some kind of version number and then plus sign so that it automatically finds the latest version. But that is not advised because sometimes what happens is one library is like not compatible with some kind of Gradle version or some kind of API version that you're using. So just make sure that you use the proper version. So now the thing is we have to find the latest version of this library. So where will we find it? You'll actually be able to find it on their GitHub, I believe, right? So just go into on their GitHub, then you will be able to see the latest version is 2.9.0, I believe. Uh, let's go ahead and see where the version numbers are. Releases. So they somehow don't have any releases there. As you can see from folks, there's like 40,000 stars and like 7.1 thousand forks. So this library is pretty popular and literally everybody uses it in their apps. Uh, let's see actually. So somehow they don't have. Okay, 2.9.0 is the latest one. It was like committed on 20th of May, I believe. So 2.9.0, what we have to do is 2.9.0. So just go ahead, copy this, then go into your Gradle, paste it, and then insert the version 2.9.0. What I'll do is I'll copy this thing and I'll paste it in chat so that you guys are able to add it in your projects. Has it arrived in chat? Yeah, it did. So I just pasted the libraries thing. So just go ahead into your apps, your module level build out Gradle because that is where the I think I changed my display to 100%. So I changed it back to like more zoomed in, I guess. So just go into your module level build.cradle, double click on it, and then in list of dependencies, add this library. Now the thing is, there are different types of there is different type of data, right? You can have your server send the data in either XML format or like JSON format, right? And then you need a way to like uh, change this data back the into an object that you can work on, right? So the thing is, when you work with JSON, uh, so JSON DB example. Yeah, so JSON is like it's a pretty common language actually to like I believe like send and receive data. But when you like send the response from your server, what happens is hello, hello, 20 ID 60 74 is talking. Let me actually disable their mic. Uh, okay, but uh, so you'll receive this data in JSON format, right? So what you have to do on your device is convert this data into an object that you can use in your app. So an object like this, right? An object like this, chat info or anything like that. So you will also need to add the different what are they called? Let me just quickly see. Converters, right? They're called converters. So in case of retrofit, we need to use like in case of JSON, right? There is a converter called uh, JSON, right? GSON. So let's go ahead. JSON converter. What was it? Retrofit. So you see that there are different types of retrofit converters, uh, which uses JSON, right? So you'll see that there are different, like for example, for XML there is one. Uh, then there are different types of converters, right? So what we have to do is go into JSON and see what their latest and like copy this dependency also. So copy this dependency and add that dependency in here. And now they again tell you to insert the latest version. So in case of retrofit, what I observe is that retrofit actually uses the same version for the converters as the main library, like 2.9.0. So we'll also have 2.9.0 for this version. So let's go ahead actually and see if there is. Uh, let's see. Okay, so the snapshots are available there. So what snapshots? Okay, so snapshots. You might have to see search for JSON. JSON. How do I find the snapshot? Like it just doesn't show anything online or retrofit. Is there a directory called retrofit? Uh, this is weird. Latest version. Let's actually go ahead and see if this works actually. Build. I believe you can see the version in build.cradle. No, you can't actually. Let's see. Let's see. 2.9.0. Let's go ahead and actually copy this. And let's Google for 2.9.0 version and see if it comes up. Yeah, I think 2.9.0 is also available. 2.9.0, yeah. So you need to use 2.9.0 for JSON also. I mean, I kind of knew that you had to use 2.9.0, but I was just trying to show you guys to go through like documentation. But yeah, so the next thing that we'll have to do is, let's see. I think this is like mostly it. There is one other thing called like if you want to like decode your API calls, right? So when you make communication with your server, and if you want to decode what data you're sending and what data you're receiving from the server in like plain text inside, I told you you use a lot of logcat, right? So if you wanted to uh, like search, like if you wanted to see that data in normal format, then you would be using something called, I'll actually need to see what it's called. um, Let me actually just go into my other project. So for now, just add these two libraries. I'll go ahead, copy these and add them in chat. I'll actually explain that to you later when I remember what it's called actually. But yeah, I sent you the libraries that you need to add in your module level build.gradle, right? Don't forget there are two Gradle files. One is, there can be multiple Gradle files actually, but every module in your app has one Gradle file. But don't copy this in your project level. Just copy this in your module level build.gradle. Then click on sync now. But make sure before you sync it, your internet is on. Uh, yeah, so now it will sync. It will download those dependencies from those different repositories. As you can see, it is downloading parent, JSON, and all that at the bottom. You should be able to see. So it should be finished by now. Yeah, it finished. It might take a little bit more time in your case. The thing is, my PC is like really expensive. I spent a lot of money on this thing. It cost me around like 2.53 lakhs. So it does everything like really quickly. But yeah, in your case, it should take a little bit of time, but that is okay because it all depends on your internet speed, on your processor, and everything like that, and all those things. But yeah, so let's go ahead, convert the JSON. Okay, so now the libraries are added, right? So now what you need to do is go ahead, create the retrofit client itself. So let's go ahead, close all of this. Okay, the first thing that we need to actually do is create the database, right? We actually need to host this file on my server so that we can make calls to the file. But let's go ahead and do that. So we already have the database object, right? So this is the model that we are using to like store the data, right? To store the information of about the chat. So what we need to do actually now is use something like we added JSON, right? So what JSON is able to do is that it is able to convert a normal string into corresponding JSON object. So if the structure of JSON that you pass or the objects you pass to the JSON library is valid, then it is able to create a string and actually show that to you in action. Now, as you can see, we added three list items. Now, the one other thing that I'll have to do is add one more library. Now, in here, we used images, hard-coded images, right? But most of the time, you don't need to. You have to actually fetch those images from internet before you show them in your app, right? So, what a lot of people like omit in teaching Android is they don't let you know about the proper way of doing things, right? Like if you go in any online classes and seminars, and not seminars but like in online classes and stuff, you'll see that most of them just teach you like regular things, the core Android itself. But literally, when you work on any apps or if you see open source applications, you will see that you have to actually use a lot of different libraries to make the app possible. But yeah, you don't, when you actually work on live apps, you'll have to actually fetch data from the internet, right? Because you can't just hard code like images of 100 billion people. You have to store them somewhere on server. So what we'll have to do is we'll have to modify this, right? Chat info, and change the object of image ID to, let's say, image URL, right? Image URL, and change it to string. So we change it to string because we will actually be passing the path of the URL of the image. So I mean that's I would say like easy. Like what you're doing is you're just passing the path of the image. So now this will give an error because we are passing an integer to the object while creating it in this one. So what I'll do now is search some images online. So let's say let me Google myself and see what comes up. If my image comes up, okay, there's Quora. Let me see. There's my Instagram, my Medium, my Stack Exchange, my Stack Overflow. Okay, my Stack Overflow is still good. Okay, now let me see if any images pop up. Okay, there are a few images of me. So let's go ahead and fetch this image. So this image is actually from my CPGCon. So I created an app called CPGCon 2018. In 2018, uh, so that is when I was like given like a trophy for creating that app. So this is my images. This image is from that time. So let me go ahead and see GitHub. Open image in new tab. So let's see new slash. Okay, it doesn't show anything. If I refresh this, okay, it still shows me the image. So what I'll do is for my first contact, I'll copy the link and I'll add it in here. What you can do on your end is if you're like coding with me, then just find an image, any image online, and then paste its URL there, image of that URL of that image. So this is our first image. Let's go ahead and add another image. Let's see. Hot Indian actresses. Okay, let's go ahead and add. Okay, no, that is Indian actresses, not hot. Let's go ahead and Priyanka Chopra. Okay, it's not an image actually. Okay, this is an image. So Kunna Ranaut's image is there. Let's go ahead and add the JPG in here. Let me change this because this is not Pankaj, this is Kanna Ranaut. I believe that is how it's pronounced. Yeah, pronounced. Let's go ahead and add Deepika Padukone preset. Let's go ahead and add her. Okay, Deepika. I'll just add Deepika here. So we have 1, 2, 3, only 3 items in the list. Let's go ahead and add more, like maybe 5 or 6, maybe 10 I'll add. Let me me actually go ahead and search for database of image URL. Image URL links. I don't know. So I'm teaching you this because the thing is you have to handle images in Android properly because they are really prone to be leaking memory. So let's go ahead. Yeah, this is actually there's no database actually. What I'll do is I'll just go ahead and keep it like this. Kumbhar or not, all of them are Kumbhar or not. What I'll do is uh, I'll cycle these three, right? So these three. In Android, there's another shortcut called Control D. When you press Control D, what happens is actually I'll actually also teach you another thing called extensions. Now the thing is we are just littering our code of main activity here by adding new items. 1, 2, 3. So let me go ahead, do this once more. So what we're doing here is we are just like littering the code in our main activity. So what if I wanted to create a function, right, uh, which returns this list, but then we wanted it to be in main activity, but not be in the main activity at the same time. So how do we do that? Uh, this is an interesting concept actually. It is, I believe, taken from Swift, from iOS. What you do is you create a new class with any name. Let's say I'll give it a name main activity extension. So this is a like a pretty cool feature of Kotlin. So now the thing is, you when you create something like this, you need to make sure that you're not writing the code inside the class. Like when you're creating extensions, make sure you don't have any class name up top. So just create a file, Kotlin file, and not Kotlin class. So let me delete this and tell you in proper way how to create extensions. So here, select Kotlin file and not class. So you're creating a Kotlin file. Let's go ahead and name it main activity extension. So what this will allow us to do is it will allow us to create a function uh, and have it inside main activity, but it can stay outside in different class so that our class or main activity itself looks better. So what we'll do is create a function, right? Let's say main function. I don't actually, I forgot the syntax for this. So I'll just go ahead and uh, let me actually see how the extensions are created. The thing is, when I work on different things, right? I work on Swift sometimes. I work on JavaScript. I work on like Dart in Flutter, and all those things. So like I have to just uh, switch between the different things. So in Swift, all you do is sys like extension, I believe, to create an extension. But in here, let's actually see main activity dot get users list. So did it create actually? Let me see. Get users list. Yeah, it did create. So this is how you create extensions in Kotlin. All you do is if you wanted to create a function, I mean you would want to create function most of the time. All you do is use the name of the class, right? So in our class, we wanted to extend the main activity with a new function, and then after that, add a dot, and then enter the name of the function. And what is this function returning? It is returning an array list of chat info, right? So this is how you create a function. Uh, okay, so now what we'll do is now what happens now is we'll be able to access this function which is outside of main activity inside our main activity, right? So we can shift all of this code, right? Let's go ahead, cut this, add it in here, list items. Then let's go ahead, copy this, in there, in this extension, and then return the list items, right? Because that is what it's returning. So now, as you can see, this function itself resides outside of main activities. So now, in real world, how you would use this is, for example, there are some things that you need to store in Android which are related to user, right? Like for example, in one of my apps, I have to save on device whether the user is from Europe and whether he is consenting to viewing the ads. So there is an object called context in Android, which has, which you need to be able to access something called shared preferences. So shared preferences is something in Android which you use to save like temporary data, not temporary data, but permanent data, which your app has access to, right? But it is supposed to be a really small database, unlike SQL or SQLite. Uh, so yeah, so in order to like save stuff in shared preferences, what I did was I created a function which extends context class itself and added a function called is user from Europe. So now why do we need to check this? Like the thing is Europe, if you are not familiar about it yet, there are different laws in Europe around users' privacy, like GDPR and things like that. So what you have to do is you have to check for user consent before you show them ads. And you need to ask them whether they want to see personalized ads or non-personalized ads, because personalized ads are the ads where Google and Facebook and things, companies like that, they uh, you know like use the user data, you know, to share ads that are relevant to the user. But if you opted out of it, so if the user is from Europe, he can say that no, I don't want these companies to process my data so that they can show me ads. So just show me any ads which don't require my data. So that is why you need this is like European thing. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead. What I did was I did like something like this, and then in shared preferences, I used to share save things. But like in real world, that is how you use this. And this is also a real world example, like main activity of get users list. But I was just trying to tell you where I personally used it. So now what we need to do in recycle view adapter is just call this function, because this function is just like it is in main activity, right? So let's go ahead, call this get users list function, and you will see that it works, right? Because it's just an extension. So now if you run the app, you will see that it still works. Let me start my emulator. uh, Unresolved reference image ID. Okay, yeah. So now the thing is we got an error because we are using like the ID in the user image field. So what I'll do is I'll comment out this. I just remove this thing because I'll actually be teaching you uh, about another library that we use to show render images in Android. Uh, but yeah, as you can see now, I removed the code and you'll see the list it's still working, but then I removed the code to show the image itself, so you won't see the image. Uh, so now the next thing that we need to learn is how to like save your app's memory when you're working with images. Now the thing is when you work with you know image kind of data in general, it needs a lot of memory to save like on like it needs a lot of memory just basically. So in order to save the memory, so the thing is when you are loading this cat image, right, this image is 1.25 MBs, right? It is not a small image, and it is 1200 by 600 uh, pixels. But on your device, right, this image is so small that it is taking a lot more memory that it needs to be taking, right? So what you have to do is Either you can create your own library, which like uses uh, an acceptable amount of memory. But what you need to do is use a library called Glide, or there's also another one called Picasso. But Picasso has like when people like there are different performance benefits and things like that to different libraries. So I would say use Picasso when you need you don't have to make a lot of network calls, and use Glide when you have to make network calls, because Glide is faster in loading images. But yeah, that is like a quick uh, like a rundown of both the libraries. But like in most cases, just use Glide because it's much more popular. So let's go ahead and search for Glide Android. So it will show you the first thing, bumtext/glide, and you will see even this library has 32,000 stars. So these libraries are pretty popular because they like solve the common problems. So yeah, if you had like let's say 100 of such images, right? 100 of such huge images of cats that you're loading in views that are much smaller, your list would eventually be laggy, because like it will scroll, but it will scroll slowly because it is using up a lot of memory. That is why you need to use something like Glide, which converts this image into the size that is appropriate, right? And then shows it. So now this is this much space, right, for like one image. It is, I would say, barely like uh, like 200 pixels by 200 pixels, right? So you don't need to load all these pixels, all these 1200 by 600 pixels. That is just wasting memory. So you only need to load 200 by 200 pixels. So that is what Glide does. Glide also caches the image. So in case you load images from internet, what you have to do is you need to reduce these network calls as much as possible. So Glide temporarily saves in a cache the images that it downloaded into a cache. So in long run, it ends up saving you a lot of bandwidth, right? The thing is, servers aren't free. The bandwidth, the uploading and downloading thing is not free. So if you use something like Glide, it will also end up saving you a lot of bandwidth on your server, like the upload and download bandwidth, because it will be saved in cache on the device itself after it loads the image. So let's go ahead and see the documentation for Glide. So how do we add a gliding project? Go into download section, and you will see that you need to add these two dependencies. So go ahead, copy these dependencies, and paste them inside your module level build.gradle. That is where you add your libraries, your module level, right? Not the project level, your module level or app level. Paste it there and then sync now. Now again, make sure your internet is on before you sync it. Otherwise it won't, like you can see it is downloading the libraries. Download GIF decoder and things like that. So it's finished doing that. So now let's go ahead and use Glide to load the image. So now the thing is we already changed our chat info object, right? So what we need to do is use this image URL in Glide, and Glide makes it really easy to do that. All you have to do is go into your recycler view adapter, and then uh, uh, create like initialize Glide. So to initialize Glide, you do Glide, right? Like in Android, in Java, you do it like this, right? New Glide, right? But then you don't have to do it like that. All you do is Glide dot. There is a this syntax is common. Like you have to just memorize the syntax with Glide. So there is uh, a with function which is static, glide dot with. So it needs context to be able to save the uh, to cache the data and things like that. So to give context, uh, like you can see, it needs context. So fragment or fragment activity and context. These are all like subclasses of context itself. And even view, you can even pass in the view, because you can get the context from view itself, like I told you yesterday. So you can either do like item view, right? Glide.with item view dot context, right? You can use either, like you can use item view or you can use item view dot context. The thing is, in this case, use item view dot context, because we don't want this context to leak outside of the folder itself. Dot load. Now what are we trying to load, right? We are trying to load it from URL. Now there are different, as you can see, this load is can take different parameters. One can be bitmap, one can be drawable. So we can even send this cat image if we wanted to, and we can even pass in string, right? Or you can also pass in the file itself, like from your device storage or something like that. Or you can pass anything that is an image. So let's load it with string, because we want to use the image URL to load the image. So let's go ahead and use the string. So chat info dot image URL, right? And then now it will show that we are loading the image, right? But we are not putting the image into anything. So we need to put that image into our image view. So let's go ahead and use it into. So these things are, you just have to memorize it. These are only three functions that we use. Glide.with load. So you need first context, then what you need to load, and then what you need to load it into. So into, we need to load it into this uh, like where was that list item? We need to load it into this circle image view. So let's go ahead and use the ID of it, right? We already loaded the thing, actually, the circle image view in our code. So now that's it. That's all you need to do to load image from internet in your app. So let's go ahead, run this and see if it works. It will work 100%. Yeah, let's see. It is building the file and now it's running. Now you'll see that it will download the. Okay, it did not download. Now here's one more interesting thing, right? Um, so can anybody tell me why it didn't load the image? If you have any answer, right? Uh, if you can tell me the answer, right? Just unmute yourself and let me know. The answer might be right in front of you. So like it is telling us, like I told you, you need to use, yeah, exactly. Bhagwat is right? So he told the answer. It is telling you in logcat. I told you you need to use this logcat a lot, right? This is where you see all the errors and all the bugs that are inside your app. So it is telling you in red, right? Glide executor, request through uncaught throwable, security exception, permission denied, missing internet permission, right? So what we didn't add up until now is we did not add the permission to use internet. So let's go ahead and add the permission. Now let's see what the syntax for adding permission is. I mean, I know the syntax, but let's just Google, right? What if you wanted to add a storage permission later on? So there is something called users permission. Let's go ahead. Internet permission, Android. Mm, yeah, so this is the syntax, right? Users permission. I think I said this before, users permission thing. So let's go ahead, copy this. I'll copy this thing inside the chat box. And then what you have to do is that I told you, Android manifest file is the file where all of the information about your. Uh, Please take me in. At coordinator, you need to let people in. Uh, Vinay Sridhar is Vinay is trying to get in, I believe. But yeah, you need to like accept those guys. So what you this manifest file, it contains all the information about your app, all the activity that your app is using, all the services, all the permission that your app needs. So let's go ahead, add internet permission. Now there are different types of permissions in the app, right? There are uh, like sensitive permissions, and there are not so sensitive permissions. So sensitive permissions in Android are the permissions that need users approval before you can use that data, right? Internet permission is not a sensitive permission, because if you just add it inside your manifest, the Android system will directly grant your app access to internet. So this is not a sensitive permission. So a storage permission is a sensitive permission. Location permission is sensitive one. Then there are other permissions which are sensitive. Let's go ahead and see which permissions are sensitive. Uh, yeah, they're not called like sensitive. They're called dangerous actually. Dangerous permissions versus like just normal permissions. So let's see. These permissions you can see are normal. Like you'll see maybe internet, right? So internet permission is a normal permission. You don't need an approval from user before you get that permission. Like even setting wallpaper is a permission that you don't need user permission. But these are called dangerous permissions. So these permissions, you have to make sure that you are asking user that you need to use the thing is you you have to ask users, because the system won't let you access the data until the user gives you permission. But yeah, you can see read calendar, write calendar, camera, read contacts, call phone, or access storage or location. All these permissions are dangerous. But yeah, internet, as you can see in this one, is a normal permission, so you don't need users approval for that. But yeah, so we just added the internet permission in here, and now let's run the app again, and now it should work properly because our app actually has the access to internet. The thing is, uh, you did not need permission before this, like internet permission. I think this permission thing was added in like latest versions, where you need to explicitly ask you, like you can see, it loaded the data from internet, the image from internet, and now it is showing inside the app from the URL itself. But yeah, so that is how you uh, load images from internet inside your app. All you had to do was add the glide library, right? Then after that, whenever you want to load the image from internet, you just do glide, then give it a context, because glide. Okay, now what I do now is I'll go ahead and turn off my Wi-Fi, right, on my device. I'll turn off the access to Wi-Fi. Not sure why it's not closing. Like it should turn off. That is weird. Wi-Fi is off. I think that the phone is just bugged. It is like bugged and it's not letting me turn off Wi-Fi even if it is off. Okay, system settings isn't responding. Yeah, it just crashed, I believe. Close app, deny. So my device just crashed, I think. Uh, Use Wi-Fi is off. Yeah, I'm not able to turn off Wi-Fi on this device. Let me see settings. Yeah, it's just bugged. So what I'll do now, if you also are seeing the same bug, you're able to now. I didn't like tell you this before, but you can do different things on emulator, right? Emulator is completely made for testing your apps. So there is this small three dots, right? There are these three small dots which say more. Click on them and you will see that it shows you different things that you can change in your emulator. So let's say you wanted to change you're creating an app which needs the GPS, right? You get the like location. What you can do is you can send the uh, fake GPS signals. You can tell that I'm at, like America or something like that in USA, right? Or you can displays, I don't know. But you can also change. Now the thing is, you have to test whether your app works good in like bad network conditions. So if your user was from, let's say, a rural area, right? Then you would use something like network type GSM, which is like the slowest one. Then you can also change the signal strength, right? So how much signal your emulator has. So you can say none, and then your emulator, you'll see there is no range in top right corner, like all the network is gone. Uh, but yeah, if you do great, your emulator will have like all the like I think my emulator is just not working properly right now. But yeah, you'll see that it changed like full, like the bars are complete, like you see like full bars there. Uh, but yeah, let's go ahead change it to 5G. Battery, you can also change battery levels. There are different options. You can just explore, like go through them when you're like alone. But yeah, let's go ahead and change the cellular is. I don't think you can change the Wi-Fi actually. But yeah, I think my device is just bugged right now, bugged out. Let me see if internet is still working because I don't want internet to work. Let me search for something on Chrome so that I can confirm that internet is closed. Let's go ahead. Okay, Chrome isn't responding now. Hmm. Yeah, I think I need to. Yeah, I'll just wipe the simulator clean and I'll like just let me emulator. So this is how you wipe. So if your emulator is malfunctioning, right? All you do is go into your device manager. Device manager, Pixel 4 is the one, I think, right? Yeah, Pixel 4. And then just click on the arrow that's next to it and then click on wipe data, right? So this will just clean all your emulator's data and then you'll be able to restart it from the scratch. So now what I'll do is I'll start from the scratch. Now it is starting the emulator. Let's see. I need to actually see if some app is like slowing my computer down. Memory is 43%, which is like all right, I guess. Processor is also all right. Hmm. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be anything. So it is just my emulator is just starting from scratch. What I was trying to show you is that Glide actually uses context to cache those images on your local storage on your device itself. So next time when you close, even if your internet is on, the images that you loaded should like load without the internet because they are cached. So this ends up saving you a lot of like a lot of bandwidth with your server. So let me go ahead. So now it loaded from internet, right? So now I'll go ahead, minimize this, turn off my Wi-Fi. Okay, turn off my Wi-Fi. then turn off my mobile data also, turn off. And now if I launch the app again, right? Hello world, you'll see that the images are still there. They didn't go anywhere. I'll just completely exit the app, right? So that it is like starting from scratch. So I exited the app completely, and you will see that even if I just closed it directly, right? If even if I force stop, let's go ahead and force stop this so you actually get my point, right? Uh, Force stop, right? So that it's not using like the on resume state and things like that. So now the app is completely stopped. I'll go ahead and open this, and you will see it did not need any internet to show the images because the images are cached by Glide on your local storage. So I'll turn on the internet again. I'll turn on the data. But yeah, you get the point. So now we have the list of users. The reason we created the list of users is because we wanted to host the file on our server so that we can use the retrofit uh, to like uh, get that data from server. But for now, let's do one other thing, right? Let's change the icon of our app, right? So yesterday I downloaded an icon, like on the first day actually, I downloaded a WhatsApp icon, like you can see WhatsApp.png. So the way you change the icon in Android is simple. It's really easy. You just go in Android view, make sure you're in Android view here, right? Then you'll see the first item is app, right? Right click on that, then click on new, then after that click on image asset, right? So now there are different types of images, right, in Android. First type is PNG or the normal images, and the other type is vector images. So vector images are the images which can scale to any height without losing any data. So vector images, like for example, if you wanted an image which is, and they also take a lot less space, so you have to draw these images with vectors. But I like maybe explain that later. But for now, let's change the icon of our app. Image asset. Let's go ahead and you have to select that you're changing launcher icons, right? Because I told you this thing that you interact with in Android, the your home screen, your the so your home screen basically is called a launcher. So we need to change your launcher icon, right? So what you have to do is just select launcher icons, then just keep the name just like that. It doesn't matter. Then go ahead and you'll see source asset. So we are using it using an image, right? You can use image, you can use text, right? You can use something like this, right? Android will automatically create the icon for you, but we are using the image of WhatsApp. So let's go ahead and give it a path. Desktop. Let's go ahead and see where our download section is. Okay, it's giving me desktop downloads, and you'll see and find the WhatsApp icon. Yeah, WhatsApp.png. So we have the WhatsApp icon now. So let's resize it. Now you can see in right corner that the thing is, it is going outside the line. Now you also are seeing that there is a background layer to the icon, right? So you need to change that also. So let's go ahead and change the background color. I don't know what WhatsApp background color is. Let me just quickly check. WhatsApp. So it is like a white logo with like green background. So foreground layer. Let's go ahead. Let's do the opposite of that, right? Let's change the color, the background color to white. That is weird. Okay, it is a PNG actually. I forgot. So yeah, we just like uh, made something similar that is with WhatsApp, right? So let's go ahead, change the image. Uh, Thank you, Bhaskar sir, Shed sir. But yeah, this is the thing is I'm going through feedback and I'm trying to like uh, see like make it easy for like new people right now. But yeah, let's see. Let's go ahead, change the icon. Now that you realize that the thing is, uh, this icon in legacy mode is like leaving a little bit of edges to the outside. Just don't worry about it. Go click on next, and then it will automatically then click on finish. I think that would be like mostly it, right? Finish. But yeah, now your mipmap files should be changed. You'll see that your mipmap file is changed. I'm not sure why it is. I think we did something wrong actually. I think I did something wrong, and the icon is going outside for some reason. It is not conforming to the proper shape. So let's go ahead, change the color to white again. Foreground layer, image, resize. Let's go ahead and not resize the icon that much. Uh, but yeah, this should actually look. Uh, so in all the others, okay, I think everything is fine. Let's run this and see how it looks. Duplicate resources, IC launcher, .webp. So now I think what it did was it did not delete the old icons. Yeah, it did not replace the old icon actually. Let's go ahead and delete. So go ahead and delete these HDPI version is that. Okay. So now you have to actually be careful with icons. Like what I'll do now is just go ahead and delete these, like all the icons that are there in mipmap file. You just delete them. Click on OK. Let's go ahead and delete these also. Okay, now it should be gone, I think. Yeah, now it should be gone. Now it should work. But yeah, in case you encounter this error, you just have to delete the existing icons and create a new one from scratch. So now you will see that our icon changed to uh, WhatsApp's icon, right? As it is in WhatsApp, but the name is also Hello World. So the way you change name in Android app, I told you, manifest file contains all the information about your app, right? So you'll see the icon is mipmap slash IC launcher, and the label is Hello World. We did not change label at all. Let's go ahead, click on string name. So the way you navigate directly is press Control, keep pressing Control. If you're on iOS, keep command pressed and then click on it. So in my case, I'm using Control and then clicking on it, and then I'll change the app name. Or you can do this, right? Because the value is string slash app name. What we have to do is we have to change the string file, right? So the string, as I told you, is in values. So double click on strings in left corner, and then open it, and then change it to WhatsApp. And then let's run this, and you will see that the icon of our app changes to the name of our app changes to something like WhatsApp, right? But yeah, so this is like basically how you change your icon and app name. But yeah, now our app is looking kind of like WhatsApp, but still not so much. We still need to change the theming of the app. Now the thing is, I told you, Google creates different types of themes, right? Uh, so these themes, you need to actually look at the guidelines that Google gives you in order to know what this color secondary is, what components use the color secondary, what components use color primary, and things like that, right? So let's, for now, I believe the latest one is Material 3. So I'll not use material 3 for now. I'll go ahead change it to material components, because that was the old one. Material 3 is really new one, and I don't actually know which components use color secondary or like color primary and things like that. But yeah, let's go and click on make it like day night. Now the thing is, these themes you have to be careful, right? Now day night is the theme where it will you have the ability to like change the theming of your app based on the timing, right? But right now we already have a theme in night also, so we don't need to use that. We'll just go ahead use light theme here, light dot dark action bar. This is our parent theme that we'll be using, and then I'll remove all of this, right? I'll remove all of the items that are in here, and then there are three basic uh, styles in material components, three basic colors. One is let me actually just delete the bottom part. So one is color primary that stayed the same. Then there is color primary dark, I believe. Uh, Let me actually go ahead and search what the three colors are versus color primary. Yeah, there's color primary dark and there's color accent. Yeah, so I was right at the first. Color primary dark and then there is color accent. So now color accent is used by components like floating action button. So floating action button, let me see where it is on WhatsApp. In WhatsApp, floating action button, I don't see it now. I don't think there's a floating action button. But yeah, previously, like in really old versions of WhatsApp, there was a button in bottom left, bottom right corner with plus icon, I believe, which you clicked. When you clicked on it, it will like launch a the contacts screen, which showed all your contacts, right? So let's go ahead and use the theme that WhatsApp uses. Let's go ahead and search what colors WhatsApp uses. WhatsApp colors. So WhatsApp uses uh, for its the thing is I use like iOS, so it is completely different for me. Like it uses iOS's theming. Uh, Let me see of the images of WhatsApp images uh, that is of iOS. Okay, so the color of status bar and the so this is called an action bar, right? So this WhatsApp. Okay, sorry for that, but this is called a toolbar or action bar. So WhatsApp uses the same color for status bar as well as that. So which color is that? That is like greenish. So teal green. Yeah, this is the color. So let's go ahead, copy this color and uh, add it inside the list of our colors. So colors are inside values, inside resources. So colors, let's go ahead, color name, let's give it WhatsApp. Let's give it color primary actually, because that is a color primary. There's a primary color. So now we need to use color primary for the toolbar. I'll actually show you color primary, then color primary dark. So color primary dark in material components is uh, used to color this thing, like this thing, the top thing that you're seeing, like the status bar. It is called in Android. So color primary dark is used to color the status bar, the this thing, right? This top thing. And color primary is used to uh, color the toolbar, which is this WhatsApp name. So let's go ahead. But in case of WhatsApp, as I showed you in image, right? In this image, the both the colors, the color of top thing and the color of the toolbar, it is the same. So let's go ahead and do that. And now you will see that in our activity main, okay, did not show anything. But let's go ahead and run this app. So now you will see that the app is now looking a lot more like WhatsApp, right? Because we changed the theming of the app to the colors that WhatsApp uses. But yeah, so I think that it looks similar, right? That color is the same. Yeah, it looks the same to me. But yeah, so this is basically like the basic design of WhatsApp. So let's now go ahead and see what else the home screen has. Uh, if I had Android, this would have been much easier to like do because yeah, okay, let's see. So this is how it looks. So now there is a different component, like I told you, right? Um, yeah, so I told you different components in Android, right? Different screens. So now this thing that you see, okay, let me go ahead and, okay, so this is the chat screen. Open image in new tab. So this WhatsApp actually has a thing for that, like a proper website for showing all this. So yeah, so as you can see, right? So uh, why does yeah, these colors don't match? Yeah, I was a little bugged out. So they use actually teal green, I believe, a dark one for that. Let me change that to dark one. So how do we change that to dark one, right? So go into colors and change the color primary to the one that we just copied. So now I believe it should look a lot similar to what is in the image. Yeah, so now as you can see, the color of the WhatsApp text itself, the status bar and everything is similar to WhatsApp. But yeah, so now I told you you have different things to show UI in Android, right? One is activity, one is fragment, there are views, there are containers. So the views cannot be shown all by themselves. You need an activity or either fragment to show the views. So these things that you see, right, you are able to swipe between like status, calls, and chats, right? So in order to like swipe between these, you have something called fragments. And this component, this chats, status, and calls, is using
ये पर
hello,
WhatsApp ने
hello. Uh, if you have any questions, you can just unmute yourself and then ask me. But yeah, so this thing that you're seeing in front of you, this this thing where you're able to swipe between different screens, is actually called a view pager, right? It is a view pager. Let me tell you this spelling. I mean, it's like view pager, right? View pager, it's called. So this view pager has uses fragments to swipe between the screens. But yeah, let's go ahead and learn about fragments and view pager now. I think we have enough time. Yeah, we do have, and we also started lecture late today at like 15 minutes late, I believe. So I'll take 15 minutes extra, just so we are clear. But yeah, so this thing that makes you swipe between the different screens is called a view pager, and view pager requires something called fragment. uh, so yeah, let's learn about fragments now. So fragments are like reusable components in Android, reusable UI components in Android. So let's go ahead actually and create paint online. Let me see. But yeah, so as I told you before, let's say this is our activity, right? So this is our activity. Then you'll have a bunch of fragments in them. This is one fragment, this is two second fragment, and so on. Like you can have n number of fragments. And then these fragments will have views inside of them. So the hierarchy of views in this image is, we have this whole activity, right? Then uh, there are fragments. So this view pager is inside an activity, and there are fragments inside the view pager, right? So this is an activity, the complete thing. Then the activity contains the view pager, and then the view pager holds these three fragments called chats, status, and calls. And then those fragments contain the code to show calls, status, or chats, right? So that is the hierarchy. Activity, then activity has fragments, but there is one thing you need to remember. Activity can contain fragments, but fragments will can never contain an activity. But yeah, that is one thing that you need to remember. So an activity can have fragments or views. Fragment can have views inside of them, but fragment cannot have like an activity inside of them, right? But yeah, that's just basically like the simple explanation. Okay, so let's go ahead and create fragments. So as I told you, we have this activity first, then inside of it view pager. So now let's go ahead, add a view pager inside the activity. So let's go ahead inside our activity main. So our activity is, let's go ahead into Java main activity. As you can see, we need to main activity now. So let's go ahead and see what layout it is using. It is using activity main. So let's keep on pressing control, then press on activity main. So now what we need to do is, we need to move the code of this recycler view inside of a fragment. So now this list is going to be inside of fragment. But at first, let's learn how to create a view pager. So for now, I'll comment out this code, right? For commenting, the shortcut is Control Shift and the what is it? Like this thing, slash Control Shift and slash. You select the code that you want to comment, and then you click Control Shift and slash. So now let's go ahead, create a view pager. Now here's one more thing. Now view pager is now deprecated. Google now uses something called view pager 2, and it I think the reason behind it is the same. Uh, like I told you yesterday, that you need to flip the screen if the device is Arabic, for example, which uses text which goes from right to left, right? So I think view pager 2 supports that. But yeah, I'm not entirely sure why they use it right now. But since this is like the latest seminar, we'll use view pager 2, even if I have like zero knowledge of using it. Android layout width will be match parent, because I told you this thing uh, occupies the entire screen, right? So we need this to be match parent. Then let's go ahead, add Android tag, then add match parent, then let's close it out. Now it will say we need to add the Android namespace. Namespace is required to like so that the XML plugin in Android knows that we are using proper syntax, and it can like recommend us things. So now let's actually see how we do things in normal apps, because personally I have never used ViewPager 2. Even if I used it, I might have just migrated from ViewPager to ViewPager 2. So let's go ahead and see the documentation of ViewPager 2. ViewPager to Android. So now it tells us how to migrate from ViewPager to ViewPager 2. But let's not use that, because we are not migrating. We are creating it from scratch. So let's see. So you will see Uh, ViewPager 2 is an updated or enhanced version of ViewPager, which was released by Google in 2009. So the original ViewPager, the previous one, was actually launched in 2009, right? So this one is like really latest one. So let's go ahead and see. Hmm. So we need the dependency of ViewPager 2, create a new project, okay, activity main. So now we added ViewPager 2, right? I'm not sure why they added orientation in here, because orientation doesn't matter in ViewPager, I believe. Then we need a layout resource file, adapter class. Okay, so just like like recycler view pager needs an adapter. So let's see view pager adapter. I'm not sure why they're creating recycler view adapter, because as far as I know, we need to use. Hmm, that is weird. I'll actually use the normal view pager because okay, my key again just came out of my keyboard. Let me put it back. This is actually a really new keyboard, and I'm not sure why this escape key is like so uh, like easy to come out, because it has actually replaceable keys. So maybe that is the reason. But yeah, I'll use view pager right now, for example, view pager. So now view pager, I actually know view pager, how to use view pager. View pager. So these things, they're called tab items, right? So these are tabs, and these are called tab items. So we need to add tab items. Like let me see the documentation for that. Create views, view pager, and then there was an easy way actually to add tabs in view pager. Add tabs in view pager. So where is the tab layout? Yeah, so we need to add something called a tab layout, right? So let's go ahead and add tab layout inside of view pager. So what this tab layout does is that it will automatically handle the, you'll actually see, let's go ahead and add tab layout in view pager. And now we need to actually use this view pager inside. Let me change this view pager to view pager, the normal one. So now we need to use this view pager inside our Kotlin class, so we can add fragments to it, right? So let's go ahead and give it an ID, view pager, tabs. Just let's give it view pager. Then tab layout, we have added tab layout. Okay, so view pager. Now the next thing that we need to do is create an adapter for this view pager so that it is able to get fragments, and it is able to know how many fragments it has, what the title of the what the title, like chats, status, and calls. So what the title of that view pager is. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead, create a new Kotlin class, which is uh, view pager. Uh, what is it? What was the class called? Uh, the thing is, I'm trying to remember the name of the class. View pager. Let me see the documentation actually. Um, yeah, fragment state pager adapter. It is called fragment state. There are two types of adapters in view pager. One is fragment state pager adapter, and the second one is fragment pager adapter. So the state is it saves the state of the fragment. Now I'm not going to go in detail about that, the states and all that, but for just know that state actually saves the state of fragment. that you leave it in. Okay, control fragment state. Now, as I told you, uh, fragment state pager adapter is deprecated. Google, like it is a recent thing, so I wouldn't worry about it that much. Like it actually happened pretty recently. Let me change my keyboard lighting to something that is usable. Okay, so now as you can see, fragment state pager adapter needs something called fragment manager. So the thing is, uh, when you're working in Android, you have to manage these different things, right? So, like an activity needs to manage its fragments. So there is something called a fragment manager, which lets the system like uh, manage the fragments. Like it is like pretty straightforward, like managing its state and things like that. But now it takes fragment manager as its parameter. So let's go ahead and give it a fm. So what we'll have to pass here is we'll have to actually pass it to the constructor. So fm will be a fragment manager, and now the error should go away. Now it will tell you to override some functions, right? Implement members, which is get item and get count. So what get item and get count does is that you can see get item returns the fragment. So get item, what it will do is it will only get item from a particular position. So in this case, chats is a number zeroth item, because in everything in computer starts with zero. So this is an item number zero. So it will return chats fragment as an item that is at number one when you swipe on it. Then status will be number two, calls will be number three. So let's go ahead and get count. So how many fragments are there in our view pager? There is chats fragment, there is status fragment, and there is calls fragment. So there are three fragments. So let's go ahead and return three, because as you can see, a get item expects to return the number of items, which is an integer. Then there is get item. The get count returns integer. There is get item, which returns fragment. But let's not worry about that for now. Let's go ahead, get another function, override another function, which lets the view pager know what the title of the fragment is. So like this title, right? Chat status and calls. So title, as you can see, there is a function called get page title. Let's go ahead and click enter. And now let's add, I explained you the switch case in Kotlin, right? When is used in Kotlin instead of switch. So let's go ahead and create a switch statement, but in Kotlin it is called when. So when position, right, is, let's say zero, right? When the position is zero, let's go ahead and return uh, what was it? Zero position. Zero was chats, right? Let's return chats. And I'll actually use smaller case, because tab items by default use capitalization by default. Then if the position is one, then return status. We are just returning the string, right? We are not returning anything special. And when it's the three or like two, because we started from zero, status and return calls. And in because it expects a non-null sequence. uh, it actually expects, this is actually nullable, right? So what we can do is we can write an else case and then return null. So we know for sure we are going to have only three fragments. So there is no way this loop is going to fail, right? So that is why I sent null, because we have handled three positions correctly in our code. So now let's go ahead and create a fragment. So to create fragment, what we have to do is extend Like to create activity, we extended app complet activity, right? So just like that, we need to extend fragment in order to create a fragment. But as I told you, fragment also needs a screen, right? So at first, let's go ahead create a layout file for the fragment. So let's go ahead create right click on layout, new, and layout resource file. So let's go ahead give it name fragment underscore chats. Click on OK. So it will create a layout file with chats, right? You will just create a layout file, and then just go ahead delete this code. Now, as I told you before, we need to move this, this on the screen, the chats from main activity, from our activity to fragment, because think of fragment as a mini activity. So let's go ahead and copy the recycler view, right? So this recycler view is a list, right? Let's go ahead and we commented that in main activity because we added a view pager. So let's go ahead and add the recycler view from main activity inside our fragment. So now what we need to do is create a fragment object. But first, let me just go ahead and turn on my light. Okay. So now let's go ahead, create a new fragment, a new Kotlin. As I told you, fragment is another object, another Kotlin class. So we need to go ahead create. This fragment is called fragment chats. So let's go ahead and call it fragment chats. And we to create a fragment, you need to uh, in like uh, make sure that fragment chats is actually conforms to fragment type, so that so you need to extend it from fragment. So let's go ahead and create fragment. So now the thing is, fragment actually accepts the constructor of fragment can actually accept the layout resource, right? As you can see here, Android Studio is recommending me that you can do that. But let's go ahead and not do that because it is too easy, and I want you guys to like understand. So the very first method in fragment that is run is on create view. So in on create view, so just like activity, right? Just like activity has on create, right? Just like that, fragment has something called on create view. So in on create view, what you need to do is you need to initialize, you need to inflate the fragment chats, this fragment chats layout resource. Let me see, someone messaged me. Okay. So fragment, you need to actually inflate. By inflate, I mean you need to convert this XML file into a Kotlin, or into an object. So let's go ahead, uh, override the function on create view. As you can see, Android Studio automatically recommended us on create view. So let's go ahead and return. Now there is, you have to actually memorize these things. So as you can see, on create view already gives us an inflator. So what you need to return is return inflator dot inflate. So you are inflating a view. So the first parameter is what are you trying to inflate, right? So let's go ahead, inflate fragment chats. So r dot layout dot fragment chats, and then the second parameter will be a view group. As you can see, second parameter is view group. So let's go ahead. Recycler also gives us the on create view function, actually gives us the view group. So let's go ahead and pass container directly. And the third parameter is, uh, this third parameter actually attached to root. It is most of the time false because we don't want it to attach to the root. But yeah, so now this was not needed, but I just wanted to explain it, how to like inflate the views. But you can also do this, right? You can pass r.layout dot fragment chats directly to fragments constructor, and then use something, another override method called onViewCreated. So onViewCreated is a function which is like called after onCreateView. So after the view is created, after the fragment finishes initializing this view or layout, this method will be called. So what I'll do is I'll just remove onCreateView, just pass the layout file directly. Don't worry about inflation. I just wanted to explain it to you guys how it works. But yeah, now in this one, what you can do is you have to shift the code from this, from the activity to a fragment, because we are adding the same thing in fragment. So let's go ahead, Control X this, and change that. We are adding the code from activity. We are moving this screen, right, from activity to fragment, right? That is basically what we're doing. So we moved the recycler view. The first thing that we did was moved the recycler view from activity inside our fragment chats. So the second thing that we did was move the object of the recycler view inside our fragment. The next thing that we'll do is we'll move the initialization of this list into fragment inside on view created. But in fragment, in order to access the find view by ID function, you like activity directly has this method, right? You can directly do find view by ID, but fragment doesn't have that. You have to, in fragment, you actually have to use the view parameter to find the view by ID. So let's go ahead and do that. View dot find view by ID. As you can see, the error is gone. Now the next thing that we did was we actually had extension to the main activity. Now let's go ahead and change the extension that we created to extension that fragment chats will have, right? So let's go ahead and change the main activity to fragment chats. So now you will see the second error will also be gone. So we actually added the extension function to the fragment itself. So let's now the third thing that error you're seeing here is we don't have valid context right now, because as you if you did not attend like last two lectures, like activity services broadcast receivers, they are actually subclasses of context. So if you control click on app, now let's just go ahead and do that, right? Control click on app compat activity, you will see that app compat activity extends from fragment activity. So now let's control click on fragment activity. Now fragment activity extends from component activity, right? Then component activity extends from the Android X component activity. Now it is Android X, I can explain it, but it will take a lot of time and we don't have it. But let's go ahead and see. Now you can see component activity extends from activity, the base activity. Then you will see that activity itself extends from context theme wrapper. And then context theme wrapper extends from context wrapper. Then context wrapper extends from context, right? So activity is a type of context. So we passed this here because activity is type of context. But in fragment, we don't have that, right? So what we can use here instead is context that the view has, right? So the context of the view. So let's go ahead and put in view dot context, right? That is how you access the objects of a view of some object that you have created, the variables of some object that you have created. So now this fragment is ready, right? So now let's go ahead and finish our view pager adapter. Let's say let's just return for now. No matter what the fragment position is, let's just return fragment chats. Now it is as easy as doing return fragment chats, because fragment chats is a fragment, right? Because it is expecting a fragment. So now this tab should be created. So let's go ahead and run this. So now you will see that the view pager will be created. Let's see. Okay, the thing is, we forgot one thing. We did not attach this adapter. As you can see, this view pager adapter, we created it, but we did not attach it to. Let's go into logcat, right? Search for adapter. I didn't show actually, but yeah, there must be somewhere here that it is saying no adapter attached. So let's go into our main activity. Where's our main activity? And uh, use just like we initialized view the recycler view in activity, we'll initialize view pager inside our activity. Let's go ahead and create a new variable view pager. It is a view pager. uh, it is a we'll actually make it so it is a late init variable. So because we know for a fact that we are going to initialize this variable before we access the data, like before we try to make any operations on it. So let's go ahead. View pager equals to find view by id arch.id dot view pager. So now what has happened is this view pager now uh, is like corresponds to this object. So you are able to manipulate this object and change work on view pager itself. So let's go ahead. View pager dot set adapter, right? It will have a function called the thing is Kotlin uses something called automatic. I'm not sure what the thing is, but what it does is it changes the getters and setters to corresponding like it removes the get and set functions basically. So if you wrote something like get username, right? What Kotlin will do automatically is it will just change it to username. So yeah, so this function is actually dot adapter is actually uh, a function called set adapter. But yeah, as you can see, when you click on it, you'll see this function is actually set adapter, and it takes parameter the pager adapter. So let's go ahead and create an object of view pager adapter, right? So I think now it should show, right? Now let's go ahead. Okay, so view pager adapter, as you can see, actually takes fragment manager, and activity already has access to fragment manager. Now there are two types of different fragment managers. One is uh, just fragment manager, right? Support fragment manager it is called, right? Support fragment manager, and another one is child fragment manager. So these two fragments, support fragment manager is accessible only in activity, and child fragment manager is accessible in fragments, because the thing is you can have a fragment inside of a fragment inside of a fragment, right? There is no limit on that. So, and to create fragments, you actually need to manage the cycle of those fragments. You actually need a fragment manager, as I told you. So in fragments, there is something called child fragment manager, and in activities, you have something called support fragment manager. So this is just accessible directly, like you can see, support fragment manager is directly accessible. So now when I run this app, now you will see that the tabs are created, and we are able to swipe between these different fragments. Now let's go ahead actually and customize this. For now, what I'll do is I'll uh, use the when loop again. When position, when it's not a loop, it is a statement. When position is 0, right? Because chats is zeroth fragment, right? Return fragment chats. Else, when it is 0, in Kotlin, you don't need to write break as you write in Java. When the position is 1, return. Let's create more fragments, right? Status and calls fragment. Let's go ahead and create new fragments. Status fragment. fragment status is a fragment. Let's import fragment. To import, you press Alt and Enter by hovering your cursor over some the thing that you need to import. Then third one is fragment calls. New Kotlin class fragment calls is a fragment. So fragments can be empty. You don't have to pass any parameters to them. So the second one is status. So let's return fragment status, and third one is fragment calls, and else the thing is this is not a nullable type, so we cannot return null. But what we'll do is we'll just return fragment just. But the thing is you can't do that, I believe. Okay, you can do that. You can just import like send an empty fragment. This will just be an empty fragment. So since we don't have anything in fragment status right now, let's go ahead and create layouts actually for them. The thing is that this will still run. Like if I run this app now, you will see that the fragments, the other two fragments are empty. Like these are empty, right? When I swipe between them, or like click on status or chats. But yeah, let's go ahead and create a new layout resource, new layout resource file. Let's go ahead, make it fragment calls, add a text inside of it, text view, match parent, and let's go ahead and add text. This is fragment calls. Let's give it an ID. There's no need to give it an ID. Let's make it big, right? I told you there's like layout gravity and gravity. So let's go ahead, make it big with text size 30 SP. Now I told you there is something called layout gravity and gravity. In this case, as the layout width is match parent and height is match parent, you cannot use layout gravity to move the complete layout, because where will the layout move? Because it is using the entire screen, right? So in this case, you'll have to use gravity because we need to move the content of the view itself. So let's use gravity center. Now what it will do is to center the text in itself. Like then let's go ahead, create another fragment, another layout resource called fragment chats calls and status. Okay, okay. So let's go ahead, copy the same thing and paste it inside fragment status. Okay, now what we need to do, like I told you before, we need to this interface needs to be given to the fragment object, right? So fragment r dot layout dot fragment calls underscore calls. So this is how you uh, access the layout files and things like that with R class. Fragment calls is done. Fragment status. Now we need to do r dot what is it? Layout dot fragment status. Okay, now when we run this, you will see that the text of these fragments changes to what we added, right? This is fragment status. Now this is fragment calls. But yeah, so this is it. But let's go ahead and change the theming of the status bar itself. No, not the status bar, of the view pager tabs itself. So now, as you can see in here, the chats, the background is white and the text is green. So let's change that to something that resembles WhatsApp, right? So chats, let's go ahead and do that. So as I told you, these things, they're called tabs, right? So for us to change the the colors and all of that of those things, you will have to go to your activity main into your tab layout and then change the properties of this tab layout. So tab layout has different things, right? Text, as you can see, there is a property called tab text color. So tab text color, what it will do is it will change the color of the tab, uh, text of the tab. Let's click on enter. And what is the text color of tab? Uh, it is like a little bit white, I would say. Like it is uh, light green. Nope. I'll just give it white, right? It is, yeah. Let's just give it a white color. At color slash white. Then let's give it a background color, right? Background tab background will be what's the background color? It is the same as the, yeah, it will be color primary, I guess. At color slash color primary. So you have to actually learn or like memorize these tags and things like that. But yeah, tab background is that, text color is that. Now there is another one where it tells you what the color of the text should be when the tab is selected. As you can see in this image, this calls tab is selected, right? That is why it has a white color, whereas this other tab is not selected. The status and chats tab, they are not selected. That is why they have a different color. So let's go ahead and add that tab selected text color. As you can see, the tag is right there. Tab selected text color will be white. Now the thing is, I don't actually know what this color is, this status color. Let me actually use a plugin. Settings, color picker. How do I pick the color? Uh, it's not showing complete colors. That is like pretty annoying. I'll give it light green for now, right? I'll give it this light green color. X code is whatever. So let's go ahead into our colors. Add the light green color. Uh, color name will be tab unselected text color, and paste it there. And now what we'll do is tab text color. We'll do tab unselected text color. And now if we run this app, we'll see that the color of the tabs itself is changed. Now it looks pretty bad because it is like yeah, but as you can see, the color itself, like when the tab is selected, is proper. Actually need to see what the color is. If you know what this color is, you can just let me know in chat or something. Like this color of the status. Let me see. Color pick eyedropper. Yeah, I'll actually be able to add this to my Chrome. Add extension. Where is it? Extension. Okay, let's see. Let's go ahead. Color pick eyedropper. Okay, so this color is 7A. Okay, that is the color. Let's copy that. Go into colors. Paste it there. Let's see if it looks better now. Okay, yeah, now it looks much better. But as you can see, the view pager is complete, and we are able to swipe between the fragments, different fragments that are there. Now, the thing is, if you look here, WhatsApp doesn't have this, like the little bit of, I would say, elevation So here, if you like zoom in, you will see that there is some elevation between the, how do I zoom in? Okay, if I magnify this, right? Let me magnify it more. As you can see, there is this like elevation in WhatsApp and the view pager. So if we need to remove that elevation, what we'll have to do is we'll have to use a custom toolbar. Uh, yeah, actually the thing is, uh, if you guys are interested in learning, having like more seminars like this, just let me know. I'll actually see if I can arrange time for that. Maybe the coordinators will drop a link where you'll be able to tell me how many people are interested in knowing more. But yeah, just if you're interested, just let me know. But yeah, now the WhatsApp is this to remove this elevation, we'll have to use a custom toolbar. The thing is, when we used the theme, right? When we used this light dark action bar, this actually already came with the toolbar. Now, if you want to remove this toolbar, right? If you want to remove this WhatsApp toolbar, we'll have to remove it by saying no action bar. So when your app when your app's parent theme is this, like no action bar, then your app will not have the toolbar, this WhatsApp toolbar, right? So now, as you will see, the chat's text has moved completely up top. But now we need to add toolbar manually then in that case. So let's go into our activity main. As I told you, there is something called linear layout in Android, which lets you arrange views linearly. So let's go ahead and add a linear layout with width match parent and height also match parent. Okay, so now I'll go ahead, uh, copy these namespaces there, and then add the Android namespace behind this. Then add this view pager, right? Control X, Control V. The view pager is added there, and we'll add something called a toolbar because this is actually a toolbar. This WhatsApp text that you see. Let's go ahead, add a toolbar. Now there are two types of toolbar again. There is a normal toolbar and another one is a material toolbar. Let's go ahead for now and use material toolbar. And we need this toolbar to fill the complete width. So let's go ahead and use match parent and height to be wrap content. Uh, so I'm not sure why this doesn't show the design. Okay, yeah, here it is. Now the linear layout will give us an error because we are not giving it any orientation. Okay, if you guys want like if you want to extend this seminar so that I can explain a lot more things, because today I actually wanted to show you the the networking calls and stuff, but we actually went ahead and did like view pager instead and fragment. But yeah, if you want to actually extend the seminar and if you want me to hold more of these so I can explain more things to you, then just let me know. But yeah, this is match parent. So as you can see, material toolbar is match parent and it's taking that much height. Let's go ahead and give it a text, right? Title text or just uh, I'm not sure why it's not giving it. Material toolbar. Hmm. Yeah, title. Title is the like the tag which you used to give. So the title is at string slash app name, right? Because we need WhatsApp there. Background is the color primary. So background will be at color slash color primary. Is it color primary though? Yeah, it is. And the title text color will be actually white, right? It is a white color. Title text color will be white. So now let's go ahead and run this, and you will see that the elevation that you were seeing before is now gone, and the text itself is plain. Now, in order for you to add these things, right, the search bar and the menu item, right, you'll have to actually add the menu to to this toolbar, which is pretty easy. What you do is you go ahead and create a menu item. Right now, there is no menu resource, right? So what you'll have to do is you'll have to create a new resources directory, right? New resource directory. This resource type will be menu. Select the resource type as menu because we want a menu there, and click on OK. So now it created a new directory called menu. So let's go ahead and create a new menu resource file. Right click on menu, new menu resource file. Then in there, let's go ahead and create a menu, like just give it a name, like let's say uh, toolbar menu. Go on, click on OK. Let me just close all of these things. As you can see, it will show you menu. Now you'll have to add menu items here. So just click on item. Item's name will be title will be what is it, search, right? But we don't want this to be visible, right? Icon will be, we also want this to have an icon. So let's go ahead, add search icon. As I told you, there are two types of different images in Android. One is an image asset and another one is vector asset. So vector asset can scale infinitely as much as you want without losing any quality. So the search icon should be a vector asset. So let's go and click on vector asset. Now we'll use the existing icons that are there. So click on clip art, and it should show you the icons that Android already gives you. So let's go ahead and search for search, and it will show you the icon, uh, which the search icon basically. Click on OK, and you give it any name, like toolbar search. Let's go ahead and give it a color. So now the thing is, this icon is white, right? So let's go ahead, give it a white color. White color is FFF, right? And then go ahead, click next, finish. Now this XML will be created, right? This vector will be created. So let's go ahead, give this an icon at drawable slash toolbar search. Then let's make it so that it is not visible, always visible or something like that. Let me actually Google what this is, what tag you use to do that. Making menu icon always visible Android. Let's see. So what is the tag that is used? Uh, Show as action. So show as action is the tag that you use, right? Show as action always. So now when you use show as action always, what it will do is it will always show you the image, right? Then the next icon is this one. Where is it? This one, the three dots. They are called hamburger icons. Let's go ahead and import that new vector asset. Let's search for hamburger. Okay, it is not showing hamburger. Uh, Menu. Okay, it is not still not there. Three horizontal dots. What are they called? Name of three horizontal dots icon. Kebab menu. So this is actually, what is it? kebab. It is called kebab menu, but it is still not there. Uh, three vertical dots, kebab menu. So let's go ahead actually and import it from. Uh, yeah, just if you guys are interested in like more, just let me know how much like how many people are interested so that I can see if I can arrange more lectures. You can let the coordinators in chat that you, if you're interested in more of such like lectures. Flaticon.com kebab kebab menu. Okay, so this is the icon that we need. Let's go ahead and download the 256 pixels one, free download. Let's import that in Android Studio. Cancel new image asset, because this is we are importing like vector asset, local file. No, this is not a vector asset. So let's just go ahead, copy this from downloads, uh, copy and paste it in Droidr. Paste. Okay, kebab. Okay, so let's go ahead, create another item which says menu Droidr slash kebab, and it will show in menu as always. But the thing is, it is actually not a vector asset. That is why it is expanding, right? So if you actually do something like, if you download SVG, it doesn't let you download SVG actually, which is annoying. But let's go ahead actually and use some other icon. Uh, it must be present actually in this list. And okay, let me see. Let me see. You're searching for the icon. The thing is, I want this to look like perfect. I'm not trying to like skip on something. This one looks close enough. Uh, hmm. Okay, so you guys can, okay, yeah, so you can see more vertical is the icon that we're looking for. Let me just search. Let me just make it menu items. Next and finish. Delete the kebab from this one. Okay, let me just go ahead, drawable slash menu items, and you will see that the menu items are added. Now let's go ahead and run this. Tomorrow we might actually see, we'll actually, okay, we didn't actually add this menu to our toolbar. You'll see that there is a tag called menu. Do you have any questions? Hello? Okay, so now if we launch, you will see that the icons are added because we added the menu itself to the toolbar. You'll see the icons in top right are added there. Right, so this, I would say for today, this much is enough. I said I will take 15 minutes extra because it was, the lecture started 15 minutes late. This actually is looking much more thicker than it needs to be. Let's see. Yeah, it is much thicker. So let's go ahead and like, it is just bugging me, I would say. So let's go ahead and make the height of this as 0.5 dp, so it's like the line is thinner and it looks much better, you know. Yeah, so now as you can see, the line itself is thinner now with 0.5 dp. But yeah, so today we just created this much menu, these many things. Tomorrow what we'll see is when you click on this icon, it will pop up the menu list, right? And yeah, so that is what we'll see tomorrow. But yeah, you can share the feedback link now, coordinators, and then yeah, I'll finish
Yes,
today's
yes, yes,
lecture here.
yes, yes, yes.
And you can also ask, like you can share like two things. One is feedback, and another one is that I told you, like if people are interested in learning more, you can share that one also.
Okay, the both the
Hmm.
okay, am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Hello.
You are. Yeah, you are
Okay,
audible.
but basically in feedback form, we have added that option of
Okay. Mhm.
okay,
Yeah. So in feedback form, just like add whether you guys are interested in like me having more lectures, basically, and taking more
we
like
have added
workshops,
that
something.
question. We have added that question that you are interested, and the next chapter two of Advanced Android Development Bootcamp. Also, that question also added in that feedback form.
Yeah, nice. You can share the feedback link. I don't think anybody has shared it right now.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
so
yes,
I'll
yes.
end today's lecture here. I'd also actually I also need to share the today's what we created today. So let me go ahead and do that. Android seminar. So let me delete the yesterday's file and compress, show more actions. Uh, okay, I'll share this on my Google Drive. So yeah, I'm zipping the code right now and I'm sharing it. So it's zipped already. So let's go ahead and rename it WhatsApp. Day it is 4, right? So let's go ahead and do that. Share this. It is uploading. Yeah, it uploaded the file already. So you should already have the link to my Drive folder. Get link. Anyone with the link can view. Copy link. Done. I'll share the link in chat. But yeah, the form feedback form is shared. So make sure you also give feedback.
Yes, yes,
And
yes. Feedback form share in the chat box. Please fill the feedback form, which is shared in the chat box.
yeah, it is in chat box. There are two links actually. One is feedback form, and another one is today's lecture. Today's whatever we made today. But yeah, I'll end the lecture now. I'll end the